Hey guys, welcome to the third MSC podcast with myself, Luke, and Mark. Obviously, this is a slightly different podcast under the circumstances that we're currently in. So this is a Skype call, and Mark's never used Skype before, so it's probably going to go wrong. So ahead of time, we apologise if you have technical mistakes. We're 33 now, so you can't keep up. We just about got WhatsApp, so.
Mate, I did the first ever video call with my mum last night, and literally she's like this, bless her. I'm hoping to do a little bit better today, but we'll see. Mate, nice t-shirt. Nice t-shirt there.
Thanks, mate. It looks very similar to yours, actually. This is the Corona uniform. White tees from ASOS.
Excellent. Is it ASOS?
It's ASOS.
Mate, I've got 5 t-shirts. I've got 3 from ASOS and 2 from All Saints. The All Saints are the going out ones.
You're doing well, mate.
Business is good.
So this is a podcast. We don't want to drone into the corner too much. So we're going to be looking at the bigger picture, and we're going to be looking at what you should be doing when you get back into the gym, whenever these do open. So that's going to be the bigger picture. But first, we're just going to have a talk about what we've been doing and what's been going on. So first of all, the most important thing, Mark, what are you going to do with your hair?
Mate, I'm going to grow it. You know, Brad Pitt from Troy. Have you seen that? Movie? Long blonde hair.
I've known you for 10 years, and you've always said that you want to do the full.
Yeah, this is the opportunity. So I've not had the lid done yet. I know obviously it's quite trendy at the moment for the other halves to be chopping the hair, but I'm gonna grow it, mate. I'm gonna grow it as long as this takes. I'm gonna grow it, and I'm just gonna experiment. And I'm just gonna see what happens. So
I think seeing how Joel Wicks is doing so good, I thought I was gonna go for the Joel Wicks long hair. And then just instead of pushing powerlifting and structured strength training, I was just going to go for like the Mickey Mouse Club. If you can't beat him, join him. So I'm going to grow my hair like Joel Wicks and start doing star jumps.
Mate, he's got some serious coin now, mate. I mean, he's got more coin than you, and that's saying something. He does all right. He does all right.
He's got his nice house, and I'm wearing an £8 t-shirt, so close. What have you been doing in terms of training? Obviously, we both haven't got access to a gym at the minute. We haven't got the luxury of a home gym. So what have you got access to, and what have you been doing?
Well, MSC very kindly decided to donate some kit to members and staff. So managed to steal a 20 kilo kettlebell, like a portable squat stand, and a bar and about kind of 80 to 100 kilos of 100 kilo of plates. So to be honest with you, I think, you know, it's more than enough for me as to where I'm at. So the rugby season's been obviously cut short. It did end up as champions though, and got promotion at Bourneville. So a little shout out for the Bourneville boys. But yeah, like for me, I'm at the end of the season now. It's just time for a bit of a general prep phase, really. So it's more than enough equipment for me to do what I need to do, really. So I'm just doing, use it as a good opportunity for some joint restoration, some recuperation, doing a lot of isometric holds, just going through some basic squat mechanics stuff, doing lots of mobility work, and finding it great. Like, it's just really useful, to be honest. I think it's been a good excuse to get away from some heavy lifting for a while and just work on some of those weaknesses. A lot of single leg isometric work, pause work, tempo stuff, and mate, my joints feel great for it, to be honest. And I've been, as much as we love the gym, it's not minded the change of scenery for a few weeks. To be honest, time will tell. Of course, I'm going to miss loading that bar up, but for now it's going quite well. What about yourself?
The good job is that when you only squat 140 kilo, 100 kilos is still pretty decent.
Hey, 140 pushing it, Christ.
For myself, so similar to you and everyone else as well, we're in a unique position where we've got such a big off season now, if that's what you want to call it. So I was meant to be competing at Worlds in June, and that's been rescheduled now till October, which on a selfish note has worked out perfectly for me. On 2 notes is one, at least really wanted to get to see My Chemical Romance. So it meant I had to come back like super early and miss a couple of the things that I'd have liked to have been involved in. But also, like, I've got a persistent injury. It's just a small injury, but it's not been going away. So it's worked out super well now that I've not got a competition until the end of August. But similar to yourself, I've used this as a good opportunity not to do any specific work. In terms of equipment at my house, I've got a 22 kilo kettlebell and a 16. And I've just been hammering isometric holds, bodyweight movements, tempo, and I feel, like you said, fantastic. Like, this is the best my adductor has felt. Because of the comp in June, I was still trying to push back, still trying to do some kind of squatting, and every single time I would leave the session and it would just not feel 100%, and it was just not getting any better. And it's been 2.5 weeks now, and I feel pretty much 100%. Obviously, I haven't put a bar on my back, so I'm not sure. But just a period of time of doing non-specific work has been fantastic for me. I feel excellent. Like you said, I think joint restoration should be the main focus for a lot of people, and then just trying to maintain and preserve as much muscle mass as we can. And I think so far, like, I feel excellent for it. So it could be long-term a blessing in disguise. Like you said, you're going to have to wait until we get back to training. But in terms of like overall health, I feel fantastic. Like, I'm able to do Copenhagen planks. I'm able to do like split squats with no pain. So yeah, feeling pretty good. Feeling optimistic. And kind of that's what this podcast about, I guess, is just looking at the bigger picture and kind of how this is not going to be a negative effect as long as we're doing something productive at home now. So in terms of like rugby players, is that they've obviously not got anything coming up? Is that the way that we should be going?
Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it? I mean, we don't know. You know, the season's officially been finished now. So, you know, we know the season's over. We don't know when the next season's going to start. Now, normally this would be September. You know, so you'd go back to pre-season about sort of early to mid-June. You'd have a couple of months pre-season. Then in August, you'd have some pre-season games. And then you'd go into the start of the season at the beginning of September. So I think everyone's still working around the kind of theory that we're going to, you know, that's going to be as normal, but obviously we don't know. I mean, it's a bigger off season than we normally have. The season would normally be going on still now until the end of the month. So it's, to be honest, mate, it's a massive opportunity. Like, for a bit, you know, rugby players continuously like complaining that the off season's too short. Mate, I've had off seasons where we've literally had 3 weeks off, and then you're back at pre-season, and in that 3 weeks you're looking to have a rest. You'd get some sort of general prep phase in, but you're literally straight back to it. Whereas this season, it's just a huge off season, and it's just an amazing opportunity to just have a big general prep phase, clear up all those knocks, all those niggles. I think it will do the players a lot of good, mate, and that's at all levels. Chance to clear up those niggles, chance to work on the weaknesses, and it's almost American, in American football, you have they tend to have a massive off season. And I think that's one of the reasons why, amongst many other reasons, but one of the reasons why they're such incredible specialized athletes, at the top level. And I think rugby players have got an opportunity to do that now. Now the key is not to waste this time. Is not to sit on your backside and just go into May, go into June, and then crikey, the gyms are open again. Right, let's get back on it. Let's panic. Let's do a quick pre-season. This is an amazing opportunity to take a month or two, or however long this is going to be, even if it's 3 months, just to get a good general prep phase in. Let the niggles clear. Do your mobility work. As I say, do your goblet squats, your single leg work, your isometrics. You can still maintain some good work with your plyos and your pogo jumps. Would you be looking to do some good aerobic work? Would you be looking to, obviously you're allowed to go out once a day to do some kind of daily exercise? Would you be recommending some light jogging, or would you ease back off that? Like, let's look at the average person that have no equipment whatsoever. Let's say they've got maybe like dumbbells, a band. What do you recommend they should do? Yeah, in terms of the conditioning stuff, I think it's so normally the season would finish, and I'd probably have a couple of weeks off doing any conditioning really. But I think at the moment, there's no excuse not to do some sort of conditioning. Now, normally in the first part of off season, I'd do off feet conditioning. So I'd jump on the bike, I'd do some rowing, I'd give the joints a rest from running. But the thing is, nobody's played for a month or so already. So you could probably argue
different circumstances.
So you've probably had that kind of rest already. So there'd be absolutely nothing wrong. If you've got access to a bike or rower, then yeah, I'd probably do another few weeks off feet conditioning. But if you haven't got access to those, there's absolutely no reason you can't go out for some steady state aerobic work with your runs or your walks or anything like that, really. And as long as you're supplementing that at home, with your single leg work, your proprioceptive work, your isometric holds, and all those kind of things, then there should be no dramas. So I think it's really important to keep up an aerobic base now, so that when preseason does come into effect, you've got a base, you've got a foundation, and rugby clubs typically will go balls deep from the off when they go back, to preseason. So if you can build a good base now, then that's going to save you a world of pain, both aerobically and also in terms of injury prevention. So yeah, 100%. I'll be doing some aerobic work now. Yeah, definitely.
I think this is just a recurring theme that's going to happen through this podcast. It's just about setting yourself up for the next block, because I think it's easy to lose motivation. A lot of people use like competitions and use the seasons as motivation to get into the gym. We haven't got that at the moment, so a lot of people are starting to struggle in terms of like intrinsic motivation. But I think if you can just keep an eye on like the bigger picture, and like, yes, this phase alone isn't going to be what's going to set you up for success, but you can, like, this phase, if you're not done well and if you don't do everything and apply it as you should do, you can lose a lot. So nothing's going to be won in this 100%. Next month, but a lot of things can be lost. And like you said, just easing in transitions to the next block is going to be key. Like, from a powerlifting perspective, no one's got a competition now coming up. They've rescheduled everything within the next 4 months. So I did a blog recently on variability in training that was highly linked to kind of the situation we're in now. And I think it's, like you said, we've never found ourselves as powerlifters in a position where we can stray that far away from the competition lifts. We might get like an off season per se, but you still might have to qualify. It might be still a low level competition or a not priority competition, but you still would have to do some sort of squatting, and you would still have to do the deadlifting. So it's still taxing work. But we find ourselves in positions now where realistically we're not going to be competing for months, like at minimum 4 or 5 months. So now is the perfect opportunity to, like you said, restore, get yourself feeling 100% healthy, to work on your positional isometrics, make sure we're stable in all the positions we should be stable, work on your bracing, which we never do. There's so much good work that can be achieved now. And I think individually, people have got different things they need to work on. So the high level people aren't going to get much of a stimulus from your low level strength work, but we can use this time to get healthy, to get 100% restoration to the joints, so that when we get back into your training, we're 100%. So that should be the focus. But like you said, for other people, they're going to be unfit. So building up some aerobic fitness is a great chance to do so. And while that's not directly going to improve your ability to get stronger in the gym, it might improve your ability to accumulate good volume. You might not get a breath doing sector. Exactly. So if you do that now, then you get back into the gym, all of a sudden you can handle more volume because you're not getting out of breath. That can only be a positive. If you're lacking ability to get into positions, doing some extra movement prep work, hitting those isometrics, doing some mobility, it's going to be massively beneficial. So nothing's going to be won. And we're in this unique position where we can set ourselves up now for the next 4 months of successful gym training. So nothing's lost, nothing's won, but everything can be lost. So
yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's a really good way to put it. It's interesting how it's quite similar across the board, from rugby players to powerlifters to general pop, because we're in a similar situation now where all of a sudden it's okay for the competitive athlete. It's a massive off season. Even for your regular gym goer, it's a massive off season from the gym, and it's a good chance to build those aerobic capacities and whatnot. And even if you've got as a rugby player, if you've got a good aerobic capacity, make it better. This is a good chance to make it better. And then when you go back to pre-season, your ability to handle volume, your work capacity is so much better. So the work, therefore, you can do in the gym is going to be a lot more advantageous.
This is the biggest off season anyone is ever going to have. So this is the best opportunity to build the biggest base and then progressively build from there. So it's a tough motivation-wise without anything like on the horizon. But if we can use this opportunity now just to build some really good characteristics, are going to set ourselves up so well. We're going to talk a little bit more later on about like what we should be doing when we get back into the gym, because there's going to be a lot of mistakes people will be making. But first, I want to talk just a little bit about like how this phase in everyone's lives has affected like MSC as a business, but also ourselves as a coach, just so people can understand kind of what's going on, I guess. So I think it's quite an interesting thing to talk from a business perspective. So obviously the gym's been closed now for 2.5 weeks. So how's that affected things, Mark? And like what's in place from the government? Like how are we still alive?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is to say a massive thank you to the MSC community and to everybody who's continued to support us, both with messages of support and phone calls and text messages, and also to those of whom who have continued their membership despite the gym being closed. Which is it's just massive. I think when we closed down that weekend, I literally didn't get off my phone. The amount of messages of support from members of the community, and even non-members, but people who have who have jumped in on their way down when they're visiting somewhere, or they know about MSC through competitions and things like that. Literally didn't get off my phone. Phone calls, messages, emails of support. People saying they're gonna continue the subscriptions, they're gonna back us. It's been amazing. So I think it's a nice opportunity just to say a massive thank you to everybody who's supported us through this tricky time, and it's a tricky time for everybody, of course. So yeah, we've been. As soon as the lockdown came into effect, obviously we had to make a really swift change. You can't stop. You can't give up. You've got to think of a way in which you can still offer value to your members and to the community. So the only option really was to go online. I think we all sort of got together on a bit of a WhatsApp group call and sort of threw some ideas together, and we've managed to continue some sort of structure with a timetable. So Sonia and Ben have been doing an amazing job doing Metcons, working from home. So people are still able to follow some sort of routine. So a lot of people are still working 9 till 5. So we're still offering the 7 a.m. Metcon classes, so people can just tune into our private Facebook group, our members group. They can follow the Metcon session. Luke, you've obviously done the barbell club programming as well, where people can maintain a base of strength through this period as well. So I think people have. I've probably been surprised myself how much value we can still add.
Yeah.
And as I say, luckily we've managed to keep a very high percentage. We've lost people, of course we have, but we've managed to keep a good percentage of people going. So it was just a case of going online, getting as much content online as possible. So every day we're delivering classes, live classes, Q&As, blogs, little vlogs, videos, things you can do at home, things you can do body weight, things you can do with a kettlebell, things you can do with a towel. So we just had to make that adaptation, but it was very fortunate that I've got a great team, because I pretty much said to yourself and Sonia on a couple of days after the lockdown, I think it was on the Monday, guys, you're gonna have to control this online. You're gonna have to manage everything online on the Facebook group, because I'm going to be busy managing the cash flow, making phone calls, putting in precautions in case we needed to delay payments or bills or anything like that. Obviously we're still trying to pay our bills and try and pay staff, but just putting those calls in place, looking into the government grants and government schemes and things like that was just the whole of that first week was just a write-off for me. So without the support of the team, we wouldn't have been able to make, whilst I was doing all that stuff, we wouldn't have been able to make the transition across to being an online platform for members. So that's been fantastic. And so we're just all online now, and it's different.
I think the key with everything that we're trying to offer is just the structure that it keeps people in. So even if they're not working 9 to 5, well, obviously they haven't got to leave for the commute like they normally would have to. I think the key is just keeping people in good habits and good structure. So they're still trying to get in 2 or 3 metcons a week. Obviously, they're still varied. We still work in different energy systems, like different ratios of work. It's not going to be the same as obviously the amount of equipment you would normally get at a normal metcon, but it's still good, high quality work. And as long as you're doing it intentfully, they get so much out of it. And just maintaining the good habits of actually turning up for a gym session at a set time is such a good habit to stay into. With the barbell club, obviously, we've set people up with 3 sessions a week. We've told them that they can increase the frequency if they're not doing the metcons, doubling up the sessions. But again, like the main focus is just trying to do everything with good intent and just offering like a progressive structure similar to what we'd normally do with a barbell club. So the work is increasing in quality, the amount of time we're working for. We're trying to see some kind of progressive quality through the 4 weeks. And it seems to be working really well. I think a massive thing that we've done, which a lot of gyms have done, is obviously loan out equipment to the members so they can still keep up some amount of work. Someone's had an assault bike, someone's had a rower, but more commonly it's like a kettlebell, dumbbell, some light plates. And you'd be
hope it comes back, mate.
Oh, we'll see.
Hope it comes back.
It's going to be a hell of a day when we need to get all that kit back. If Big Boris finally gives us like 2 days notice, you've got to get fucking everyone's rowers back, everyone's kettlebells. It's going to be a hell of a day. Uber are going to make a killing on people coming back with 40 kilo dumbbells. But the amount of work that you can do with just like one dumbbell or one plate is huge. So like just adding a little bit of load to like your positional isometrics, your floor pressing, your press ups is huge. But even if you can't, like we've set the structure up there so that we can still improve week on week. And like I said, if you're not going to be able to add load, we can improve like your endurance, your muscular endurance. We can improve like your tolerance to load in the future. So there's still so much more work that we can do, and we're just trying to keep people in the habits. I think from like a coaching perspective, alongside MSC, I should say, like my own coaching, the majority of it would be online anyway, or like programming with check-ins. Obviously, that's massively changed now. I reckon 40% have got like a home gym setup or like access to something, but 60% just haven't got anything, or maybe like one dumbbell. So that has been challenging as a coach, but it's been a really good learning curve. And I think long term, like we said, it's going to be massive in terms of what we can achieve. But it's been tough. The main thing is just keeping people motivated and helping people understand that this phase of training isn't going to be forever, that it isn't going to be the most beneficial in terms of like acutely right there and then. This is not going to improve you more than other blocks of training. They're a bit more specific. We're trying to help people understand the bigger picture and trying to help people get as much out of this phase as they can, just so that we can ease their transitions back. Has been tough as a coach, but it's been enjoyable, and I think there's been a lot of takeaways that I think we'll both apply in terms of moving forward. So like adding more general training in, people are feeling good already. Obviously everyone wants to lift heavy, but I think that a mistake probably made in the past is just like in the off-season phase, maybe not going as far away from the competition lifts. It's tough, like I said, if you've got a comp in 3 or 4 months, but there's definitely scope, I think, to go a little bit more non-specific with your training in terms of like the bigger picture of getting healthier and building good foundational strength. I think that's one thing I've took away from these last couple of weeks, is that people are feeling great from not doing so much of the competition lifts or doing none of the competition lifts. Obviously, time will tell how much of an effect not doing it will have. But I think, like I said, bigger picture, 16 weeks time, a lot of people are going to be in great shape to PB the lifts. And it's going to come down to feeling 100% healthy and being in a position to tolerate more work over time. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. But I think it's going to be massively beneficial for the majority of people that have done some good work during this time. So it's really as best as we can to try and keep some form of motivation, looking at that bigger picture.
Yeah,
So,
I think I think in terms of, I think I did a blog on this a while ago, but it's not just in terms of looking for those, gradual progressions and, progressive overload type work. It doesn't have to be just the amount of weight on the bar going up every week. We can make progressions, and like we have done with the barbell club programming, in terms of your time at attention, your pause work, your positional work. There's lots of different ways in which we can continue to progress without necessarily having to add weight to the bar.
One thing that was super scary for me was that you got these powerlifters that are like good strength, like can bench press like close to their body weight, and then some of the press ups that were online were so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like you almost think like looking back, like before you take someone on as a powerlifter, and you just presume, I guess, that they can do a press up well, but then you look at it and you just there's so much that is wrong, and there's even there just improving on your ability to do press ups is huge. Like your awareness of your position in space, your elbows relative to your torso. Like, there's so much that can be improved on that can only have a positive effect. So just taking that step back to then move forward could be huge. So
massively. That's it. Yeah. So let's say, imagine you've got that. Imagine you've got a 20 kilo kettlebell and you're working on that goblet squat. You can do so much good positional work, mobility work with that. Week on week, you can either increase the amount of volume, you can decrease the tempo, so there's more time at attention. You could add in pause work, and there's a lot of different ways in which we can still. I think that's important. Yeah, like I completely agree with what you're saying. It's not going to be your best training block ever and whatever. It's just setting a base for when we go back. But there are still some certain improvements that we can make for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if we move now away from kind of this current training and looking at getting back into the gym, before we get into what we think you should be doing, what are the mistakes that we think people are going to make?
Mate, people are going to get too excited. People are going to shoot the load a little bit too quickly. They're going to get back in. They're going to add weight to the bar. They're going to try and max out. There's going to be all sorts going on. And I think, I think it's going to be important to contain that excitement and use the blocks that we're building now to just look at that next block when we do get back in the gym, just a steady progression, not a mad progression.
One thing that made me laugh was that obviously when everyone found out the gym was closed, like it was like a worldwide max out. I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be able to train now for 6 or 8 weeks. Let me max out. I was listening to Inflexion podcast. It was pretty good. And they were saying that like everyone's maxed out before. They're going to do all this work at home, and then they come back and they're going to max out again. Just to kind of see how that's gone. And obviously that's definitely not the way to go around it. I can understand everyone wanting to max out, not having access for 8 weeks, but yeah, in terms of like progressing back into the gym, I think the biggest mistake people are going to make, like you said, is just being too keen and just increasing volume and intensity way too fast. And I think that means two things. I think you're high risk of injury, but also like the muscle soreness that you're going to get from just doing any training at the minute is going to be ridiculous. If anyone's ever had a week off, even like a deload, and then you go back into the gym, it's so unbearable. So I think that we need to talk about like introduction blocks. So there's a couple of researches that I want to talk about, and then also kind of like the difference between an introduction block and a deload block. So people always like an introduction block is the sister of a deload, but they're not the same thing. I think the way to look at it is like a deload recovers you from the previous block. So you've done, let's say, your high volume work, you take a deload to reduce your fatigue, to increase your readiness for the next block. So you're recovering from the last block. If you transition from a higher volume block into a higher intensity, you might do a deload week, and then you would go into your higher intensity introduction week. So your deload might be, for example, you'd be doing sets of 8 let's say you built up to sets of 8 at 80%. Your deload week might be 3 sets of 5 at 80%. So you're reducing the volume down, you're maintaining intensity, you're reducing relative intensity, so your intra-set RPE and the session difficulty is going to be a lot lower. But that said, then going into the next block, the higher intensities, if you want to be working at 85%, it's a big jump up again at 5%. So that introduction week is about setting yourself up for success in that next block. It's not about recovering, it's about setting yourself up for success in the future. So I think what we need to be doing when we're getting back into the gym is having a good introduction block. I think a good rule of thumb is that however much time you've had after the gym, if you take that and half it, that should be how long your introduction block should be. I'm not sure what that's based off. That's just like anecdotally and what I've heard some high-level coaches saying. So let's say you're off the gym for 6 weeks, we should probably be having a 3-week introduction block. If you have 4 weeks, it should be 2. So if you're going on a 2-week holiday, a 1-week introduction block, you should be good to go.
I think
go on.
Sorry, mate. Can I just jump in there? I think the important thing to remember with that as well is, in terms of obviously, we want continual adaptation. We want to improve. The thing is, after having this block where we've been working body weight or we've been working with, very minimal equipment, you don't need to load. You're not going to need to load the bar, too heavy. The intensity is not going to have to be high to create stress, to create stimulus, and therefore create an adaptation. So, there's the injury aspect and injury prevention aspect of going from 0 to turbo, straight away. But there's also, it's just completely unnecessary.
Yeah. If you've not touched a barbell for 6 weeks, you do not need to do 80% to get a stimulus.
Yes.
You could do 60% and you will get a stimulus, and then you can progressively build from there, taking into account what we know from the literature to be successful. There's a couple of different articles that I wanted to talk about. There's one in 2019. We can add the link in the description. Of using, like, it's so light that no one's ever going to do it, but it's just interesting. Using 10% of your max as an introduction week, and the effect on muscle soreness and like your output then in 4 sessions time, compared to just going straight in heavy, and the amount of muscle soreness and how long it would take to get back to your normal level. The effect that would have on it, and it was such a massive effect from just doing a session at 10%. That obviously no one's going to do that, but like just having an introduction week is going to have a huge effect on your ability to be able to do these sessions. So if you go straight in and let's say you don't get injured doing 80%, but the muscle soreness that you're going to create from doing such high intensity work after not doing anything, it's going to be so unbearable the next 4 or 5 days. Your ability to do any other work is going to be so low. Even like if you squat, your upper body, your overall system is going to be so taxed, you're just not going to be able to do any high quality work. So if you use this time as an introduction week, like low intensity, low moderate volume, and just progressively build from there, I think that is definitely going to be the way to go. So what are we looking for with the introduction week? What would you characterize it as?
What do you mean exactly?
So like from my perspective, it's obviously, like I said, low volume, low intensity, low to moderate intensity, and then just progressively building up from there. Is there anything else that you kind of want to look on? Let's say from this example, so we've been doing all the stuff from home, like exercise selection. Would you carry on doing some like positional isometric work? Would you switch everything else and come and go back to your normal gym training? Like what direction would you take the block?
Yeah, I think it's just got to be a real steady process. In terms of your intro work, I agree. However long we've had away, probably looking at 50% of that, and in that intro block, just depending on what your sport is, or what you're looking to achieve, would probably determine the specificity of the exercises. From my point of view as a rugby player, at the moment it's a lot of tempo work, it's a lot of pause work, a lot of isometric work. So from that, I'd probably be looking at just gradually building a little bit more specificity, looking to gradually increase volume and work capacity just a little bit more. So for example, going back in, if I'm working on a split squat, for example, from home, I'd be doing a lot of isometric work, a lot of pause work. So it'd be just that very gradual increase in intensity, getting a safety bar on the back, getting a bar on the back, which straight away is going to change the stimulus, and therefore even minimal loads are going to produce a bit of a stimulus. So I think
so would you be looking to keep these kind of home exercises in? So like your positional isometrics, would you be keeping those in, but just slowly adding and integrating the more specific work? So it's just a gradual process over 4 weeks.
Gradual process. So keeping those in and just probably fading them out gradually, in terms of just slowly reducing the amount of isometric pause work, gradually increasing the work on more traditional exercises, I guess, in terms of just gradually building up volume, gradually building up intensity. And I think that's your intro block. But I think it's got to be an overlap, and it's got to be a gradual.
Absolutely, it's not black and white, like you said. It doesn't have to be white. We've done all this bodyweight stuff. Now we're going back in the gym. I'm squatting 3 times a week again. It has to be a slow integration of the barbell work. Otherwise, it's just going to be too demanding. I also have been taking into account, like moving forward, like your acute work to rest chronic ratio. So like how much work you've done with a barbell in the last month compared to what you're going to be doing that week. You've done nothing with a barbell, so all of a sudden we need to just really, really gradually build that up. And I think that once we've introduced barbell training again and gym work, we need to be looking at no more than a 20% jump week on week. The strength is going to be there. I'd probably say 10% week on week. That was what the data would say. So if we start at, let's say, 50%, the next week we're looking for a 10% increase in load. And that way, I think the muscle soreness is going to be kept at bay as much as we can. You're still going to be sore, but nowhere near as much as if we just went straight in. And like we said, your risk of injury is going to be so much less. So I think just taking that into account, this introduction box, slowly phasing in the more specific work and taking into account those 10% jumps is what's going to be key for people maximising this time. And again, keeping motivated, because if people go in at super high intensities, like when they get sore, it's just so off-putting, especially if you're not used to it. Like it's very, very uncomfortable at the best of times. But also, like if you try and lift these heavy weights and they move like shit, it's not good, man. Like mentally, it's really not good. So using a time to move 60%, starting to practice the skill. I think the one thing that's going to be worse after a block like this, like if you've done your positional isometrics, like we've spoke about, your tolerance to work is going to be good. You're not going to have lost much muscle mass, but what you will probably lose is the skill of doing the lifts or doing like sprint, whatever your sport would require. The skill of it is going to be down, and it's going to take time to build up. So while our strength may be roughly the same, our ability to do a squat is going to be super down. So using this introduction block just to build up the skill of actually lifting a barbell well, or the skill of sprinting, can only be another positive. So
yeah, exactly. So if you're taking, from my example, if I'm doing a lot of goblet squat work at home and then I want to go back into front squatting, for example, then obviously we're adding the barbell, the stimulus is going to be different. It'd be a case of just again as an example, a couple of sets of 10 with the goblet squat with a kettlebell, and then one set of 8 or 10, a very low load with the barbell, and then next week I'll be looking at maybe 2 sets with the kettlebell and 2 sets with a barbell, and then gradually phase out the kettlebell work and gradually implement the barbell work. Because as I say, going from even just doing one set of 6, one set of 8, one set of 10 with a barbell, with an empty bar even, or with a 5s or 10s or whatever it is, very low very low intensity, it is going to create a stimulus. So there's just no need to, and like you say, the movement pattern is probably going to, the skill aspect is going to have to be taken into consideration as well. Things are going to move slightly differently. So, we need to be a little bit careful.
Can you imagine a weightlifter trying to do an 85% clean and jerk after 8 weeks of not doing any barbell, just doing split squat? It's just not going to be good.
Exactly. So, it's interesting.
So to wrap it up, we say in introduction block, low intensity, low to moderate volume, and not going uber specific with the exercise selection. So we're looking for a slow integration of the gym stuff. So it doesn't have to be black and white from your home to your gym. We're looking for a slow integration. We start with that introduction block of 50% in terms of time of whatever we've been away from the gym. We're looking to build up the tolerance by about 10% a week. And a very, very gradual process in terms of the introduction block is the next phase after this homework in terms of setting yourself up for long-term success. Is there anything you want to add to that, or?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's 100% that, isn't it? It's just phasing out what we've been doing gradually and implementing the new skills and the barbell work and everything like that gradually as well. So there's just that overlap, very, very slow progressive overload, essentially, not trying to be overly specific, and just that very gradual, just being patient. That's the key.
Patience is key. Awesome. So what's next for MSC? Have we got anything else coming up? We've just started the Corona Games.
Yeah, so with MSC, obviously everything's online at the moment. So we started the Corona Games, which Sonia's running for us, which is just a bit of a competition for our members to get stuck in. So again, just trying to keep motivation high. Really, I think that's as much of we spoke about this being a big opportunity to get some key work in, to work on some basics and set a foundation. It can be easy to lose that little bit of motivation, and I think something like this is a great plan. So basically, it's going to be a series of challenges week on week. We're going to record the scores, and members got an opportunity to test themselves and to compete as well, which I think is healthy. So that's going to be a big thing going on. We're continuing our classes. monitoring the barbell clubs, continuing with the Metcons, loads of Q&As, things like that. And we're just sitting, well, we're not sitting tight, we're moving forward, but we're kind of excited to, for that day when we're going to be up and running again, because it's going to kick off and everyone's going to be excited. We're obviously going to be trying to manage people's workloads in the gym, but there's going to be some excitement. I think it'd be rude not to have a big social.
Week one of barbell club is going to be 40%, and everyone's going to secretly be trying to sneak in some extra work just to test the waters. Yeah. Like you said, this was our 5th year anniversary as well, coming up on the 1st of June, which will probably tie in roughly to the same time as when the gym opens. So that is going to be a great social. That's going to be, that's going to be a great thing. So that's something that we're working towards as well. So it's going to be the 5-year anniversary of MSC, and also the reopening party. So that's going to be a massive. That'll just be mega if it works out roughly around the same time. I think it will.
Just have a 5th birthday, big relaunch. It's going to be a big party, and
it's going to be massive as long as all the members bring the kit back. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a hell of a gym.
Absolutely, it's parkour. We'll turn it into a parkour gym.
I mean, that's what it was before, wasn't it? It was the.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. It's fascinating to watch the parkour stuff, but it's probably not something I'll get into.
The only parkour I've ever saw is off The Office, the American Office. The only rolls on the sofa. Parkour.
Yeah.
I think that's the extent of it. Awesome. So I think that pretty much wraps up what we're going to do. I think we'll be doing another podcast next week, looking specifically at rugby and the kind of rugby off-season that with Max. So I'll have a perspective of a S&C coach alongside Mark, but also a sports therapist. So that'll be cool. So I'll check out for that. As always, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're looking to launch this on Spotify, Stitcher, and all the other platforms in the next couple of months. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll keep trying to provide valuable information, trying to make you get as much out of these kind of out of your training as we can, especially in these times. So yeah, if you've got any questions, you can link them below. And if not, we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cheers.